Welcome back, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed the holiday with your friends and family. I want to thank you in advance for subscribing. It truly helps my channel grow. We left off with Diana sitting in the first ever dental chair in Lord Zoo's laboratory. Let's see what happens next, shall we? Aren't you curious about where we're going? Asked Lord Zoo. You're sending me back home and piggybacking for entry into the physical world, right? Yes, however, my dear, I doubt you will survive the procedure. For every great discovery, there must be casualties. Lord Zoo replied with a malicious smile. At least I'll die in my body and my family will have closure, I replied. The other wizards gathered around, and they held hands and began to chant. It was then that I noticed the floor. The contraption Lord Zoo and I were strapped into was also extended to the floor. I realized that we were all going. Who was going to take over Shadow World after we left, I wondered. Aren't you going to miss this world? You built it into what it is. Are you content to leave it behind? Who is going to be Lord now? I asked him. I believe that once I leave, this place will cease to exist, he replied confidently. My lord, a technician approached and handed him the frog. Lord Zoo held it reverently in his hand, not once looking at it. He was already lost in his mind, probably dreaming of his upcoming conquest of the physical world. I smiled to myself too and closed my eyes when the technician started the machine. The mechanical whirring sounded rough in my ears as it got going. Almost immediately, I felt the weightlessness I'd felt when I was first caught in the funnel. I kept my eyes shut tight as I traveled through it. After a time, I landed on something soft. The air felt warm, and a chemical odor wafted up to my nose and the beeping sound of modern medical machines. Finally, I opened my eyes to the glaring brightness of the overhead hospital lights and took a deep breath. My mother was sitting to the left of me with her eyes closed. On my right were all the machines monitoring my vital signs. When they started beeping crazily, my mother's eyes flew open, and she got up to lean over me. Suddenly, the room filled with doctors and nurses all staring at me. I smiled up at them. Hi, I said. 3 days later, I was able to go home. The doctors were baffled, still unable to explain what happened to me, how I got hurt, or what caused the coma. What was truly weird was the fact that I was in the coma for 3 long months. The other thing was the petrified frog leg I found clutched in my hand when I awakened. I must backtrack to what actually transpired a few days before Wills, Prudence, and I planned to get me home. She had overheard the wizards talking about the frog and how they knew it hadn't come over alone. Lord Zoo wasn't totally unaware of modern science as was supposed. He was able to quickly detect my fingerprints on the metal tray holding the frog. That led him to watch everyone. Prudence became of great interest to him, especially since she packed a large basket of food every day to take back to her shack. Also, Wills had become very interested in how his time machine worked. His questions raised red flags. He used his magic to find me. However, because Prudence warded the shack, he couldn't enter, so he decided to plan very carefully. The banquet was a big part of it. All of it was to distract Prudence and Wills. So while they were enjoying the banquet, music and dancing, he would go back to the shack, break through Prudence's wards and take me. That was his plan. To give her credit, Prudence was a powerful witch. She not only warded the shack from entry, she also spelled it so that anyone trying to enter would leave an echo of their intentions. She explained that Lord Zoo had come to the shack and she was able to read his intentions. That's when we came up with our counterplan. Lord Zoo himself used glamour to disguise himself that day when he and his colleagues came for me. It was hard not to laugh in their faces. They played right into our hands. While Lord Zoo was busy impressing me with his skills, Prudence and Wills had gone for the frog. They got caught, but our main objective was to get a piece of the frog. We had allowed for their possible capture so that if it happened, we'd be okay. When Prudence and Wills left to get the frog's leg for me, she double warded the shack to buy time. Lord Zoo would have to work harder to break through. After he glamored me and his partner, we made our way back to the castle. He was so sure of himself. All I had to do was act worried, which I was because when we entered the chamber, I was upset that my friends were in a cell. Because Lord Zoo had done some experimenting on the frog himself, he didn't really notice that the frog's body was rearranged. Things went quickly after they were discovered by the other wizards. Wilson and Prudence were put in the cell, and Lord Zoo marveled at his cleverness. The funny part was that when Lord Zoo allowed me to say goodbye to my friends, What I was really doing was collecting the frog leg from them. Wills replaced the leg with a chicken leg bone, just in case Lord Zoo decided to look at it too closely. Lucky for us, he didn't. I clutched the frog leg tightly in my hand and tried not to cringe at its sponginess. When the machine started, I prayed that our plan worked. We figured that the chicken leg bone would alter where Lord Zoo and his partners landed, while I landed exactly where I was supposed to land, in my body at the hospital. I'm not sure where Lord Zoo and company ended up, and frankly, I didn't care. My family fawned over me for a few days and wouldn't allow me to go back to school until they were sure that I was completely fit. After my final physical, the doctors pronounced me fit. I went back to school. My classmates were glad to see me, and soon everything went back to normal. I had become quite the fan of the news of late. I wanted to make sure that Lord Zoo hadn't landed in my timeline. Every night I watched the local and international news. My parents were worried, but soon chalked it up to teenage fad. Finally, on the last day of school, I was walking home from the bus stop and laughing with my friends, and I bumped into someone. I immediately opened my mouth to apologize. I swallowed the apology when I recognized who I bumped into. "Wills?" I asked. "Why don't you watch where you're going?" he replied. He shoved me away and kept on walking. I turned to watch his retreating back, in shock that he hadn't recognized me. My friends pulled me along and I let it go. When I got home, I ran up to my room. Apart from watching the news, I had also been keeping tabs on the internet. I had become a great fan of the conspiracy sites and logged on. I surfed for over an hour with no results. I couldn't believe that he was here. And if he was, then so should Prudence. They were together in that cell, so if he showed up here, then it was safe to say that she was too, right? That evening, I was very quiet at dinner. My parents tried to engage me in conversation, but I wasn't in the mood. Zane wasn't home, so they tried to get me to hang out with them. They were happy that I was a senior next school year, but I couldn't cheer about it. "Diana, are you feeling well?" my dad asked me. "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Can I be excused?" "Sure," Mom said. They watched me get up, place my plate in the sink, and walk out of the dining room. If they could have stretched their necks to watch me walk up the stairs, they would have done that too. Parents were weird. I understand that they worry about me, but that was too much. I was just tired. I brushed my teeth and went to bed. Most nights I dreamed, and this night was no different. My usual dreams were about Lord Zoo. He tormented me in my dreams. Because I knew they were dreams, I didn't worry too much about him when awake. But seeing Wills changed things. The dream began different this time. I wasn't outside the castle. I was in his lab. Wills and Prudence were in the cell, and suddenly they weren't. I searched for them all over the lab, and even ventured outside the lab to the corridors. But I couldn't find them. I woke up suddenly, looking around until I was sure that I was home, in my room. I didn't understand what the dream meant, but I was uneasy. The following day, I chilled. I was on summer vacation, and it felt weird because I'd missed all my finals. In order for me to be promoted, I had to take an intense few hours of tests, which miraculously I passed. Yay, my C average came through. I was afraid of going outside because of what happened the previous day. I was positive that the person I saw was Wills, and yet he didn't recognize me. Could it be possible that he somehow followed me to my time? But where was Prudence? Mom was in dictator mode and knocked on my bedroom door the following morning. "Get up, Diana. It's Saturday. I want your room and bathroom cleaned," she bellowed. I rolled out of bed quickly. I suppose doing those things was better than agonizing over whether there was a homicidal maniac roaming the streets looking for me. By 2 in the afternoon, I had changed the sheets off my bed, tidied the room from top to bottom, and the bathroom was smelling lemony fresh. "Hey, your dad wants to grill tonight. What do you want, beef or pork?" Mom asked me when I ventured out to the backyard. We had a huge deck in the back, something most houses in the neighborhood didn't have. During the summer months, my parents entertained a lot. Mostly it was Dad's cop friends and their families who came over. I usually escaped back to my room when the shop talk began. "Are we having company?" I asked her. "No, it's just us tonight." "Chicken is fine by me then," I answered. "I said beef or pork, Diana." "Fine, sausages then." "Go ask your brother his preference," she ordered. "Where is he?" "He's fooling around with his equipment in the basement." I headed back inside to find Zane. I could hear him in the basement. My brother was an amateur DJ. He was good, but I would never tell him that. A few years back, he and Dad converted a section of the basement into a small studio for him. In the warmer months, he usually was in high demand for parties and barbecues. I reached out to tap him on his shoulder. He jumped and turned around quickly. What? I chuckled. Mom wants to know what you want to eat later. Dad's grilling. Beef or pork? I don't care. I won't be here. I've got a gig. He turned back to his console and righted the headphones and bopped his head, dismissing me righteously. I pulled off his headgear. Can I come? Why? He asked. I don't want to stay with them tonight, and if I'm with you, they won't give me grief. Zane very rarely hangs with me. He was 20 after all. I was turning 18 in the fall, but he still saw me as his little sister. Only if when we get there, you stay away from me and not get into trouble. Great, you won't even know I'm there. Who's throwing a party? Nobody you know. I'm leaving at 6. If you're not ready, you get left, said Zane. Oh, I'll be ready, I said, already making for the stairs. Before going to my room, I detoured to the yard. I told Mom that it would be her and Dad for the night, that Zane had a gig and I was going with him. Mom stared at me for a few minutes, then nodded. You listen to him and make sure you eat something. Yeah, I'm going to get ready. Zane said we're leaving at 6. Have fun, but be careful. If you don't feel well, call us, okay? Mom, I'm fine, I said, hurrying toward the stairs. I fashioned my braids into a bun and pulled out a pair of leggings and a belly shirt. I shook my head as I hear my dad's voice downstairs. I changed into a skirt but kept the belly shirt. When Zane popped his head through my bedroom door, I was ready. I grabbed my purse and followed him out. Dad gave me an extra $40 and gave me the same speech about calling if I felt sick. Then he reinforced it with Zane. He was to call if he noticed anything odd with me. Finally, we were allowed to leave. I got into Zane's car and he turned to me curiously. You're feeling okay, right? I mean, you weren't lying to them, right? Zane, I'm good. Can we just go? I'm tired of being cooped up. I need to breathe a little, okay? Okay, but they're right. If you don't feel well, don't hide it. Even though I don't show it much, you're my sister and I care about you. That stint in the hospital was crazy scary, and I'd like it if you didn't fall out again. You care about me, but seriously, I'm fine. What happened at school wasn't because I was sick, I told him. What do you mean you weren't sick? He asked. He checked his mirrors and pulled out of the parking spot. If I tell you, you've got to promise not to laugh or think I'm crazy. Promise? Okay, so what happened? In biology class, we were dissecting a frog and then the building started shaking. Outside was this big funnel thing heading straight for the school. I ducked under my table with the frog and then all of the sudden, I was someplace else. Yeah, Dad said that the school reported an earthquake or something. You were found under the table like you said, but you were unconscious. They couldn't wake you, and you were in a coma for 3 months. Yeah, except my body was here in the physical world, while my spirit was in the shadow world. Are you saying you had an out-of-body experience? No, nothing like that. When someone has one of those, they could see their body and everyone around them. This was something else, someplace else. And there was this evil wizard there, Lord Zoo. When I first got there, I met this boy named Wills and a witch named Prudence. They hid me from Lord Zoo until they could find a way to send me back. Dude, you are seriously freaking me out right now. Do you know that? Tonight's gig is for a couple throwing a party for their son. Their names are Wills and Prudence Salem. That's it for now. Comment where you are listening from and what you think of the story so far. It's the holiday season, and I would truly appreciate a like and subscribe. Until next time, happy holidays.